Sure.
Recording
Hi.
in progress.
Oops. Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for talking with me, Robyn. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it because we did meet once when there was the fireman rally.
I remember you now. I saw your interview. When I talked to you on the phone, I didn't recognize the voice, but I recognized your face because you did bring over the Fox guy.
The Fox guy who was a jerk.
Yeah, that's
Mike.
okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah, but I do remember you. Yeah.
So
Thank
the reason I asked for you to meet with me now, and my phone, my recording is echoing, so I'm slowing down so that the repeating me, I'm not talking over. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Am I echoing now? I'm actually not echoing now. Thank goodness. I'm
Sorry,
not.
one second.
Okay.
I'm in the car. I'm trying to get you hooked back up to the car. I can't hear you. One second.
Okay.
Sorry. Give me 1 second.
Perfect. Now you can't hear me, but I'm not echoing anymore. It's great. I'm here with Josh Shatley, who is one of our heroes in Beverly Hills, who was let go, or I don't want to terminated because
I was terminated.
because he didn't agree to get the COVID shots, that his not medical, but his religious exemption was denied. And I was told by one of our candidates running that everything I thought I knew about Josh's case and situation to be different. So I had to call to see if he would meet with me so I can get some clarification, so that the community knows what's really happening, and so that you know, I believe in 100% transparency, and we're going to hear it from Josh. So I'm going to just ask a few questions and have Josh share the facts of what's transpired. And so I don't even know where to start. Why don't you start with your story, and then I'll ask you questions against what I was told.
Absolutely. So I'll just start back in August of 2021. LA County Health Order came out, which stated you had to be vaccinated or have either a religious or a medical carve-out, which meant you had an exemption. And then if you have those, according to the LA County Health Policy, you can continue working, but you had to do testing, okay? To that point in time, everyone at the fire department, we would do a health screening in the morning. We would wear our masks and gloves on every call, and we would decon the equipment if there was a positive screening, meaning someone had flu-like symptoms we thought it was COVID related. So there was a lot of procedures and policies in place already of what we would do to help protect the community. And our first priority is to protect the community as members of the fire department, not to protect our own careers. Okay, that's a big distinction because that's what we're experiencing.
Or your lives, or your family's lives, for that matter.
Exactly. In the beginning, and we were talking about this before, Robyn, but in the beginning of COVID, what was happening, but all we had was the fear propaganda on the news, and we saw people dropping dead in the streets of China. Do you guys remember that? We had a call in Beverly Hills where we had a person fly in from Lebanon who had flu-like symptoms, which at the time, Lebanon was one of the red countries that consisted of a hotspot of COVID. And we went on this call, pre-protocols, pre-anything. We had a little tailboard meeting with the crew as to what PPE to put on. And I was the patient man. So I was the one in contact with the patient. I was the one the most risk. Not knowing what would happen or what this would do, and with that image in my mind, I related it to Ebola, which we just had training on probably a year before. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen to me, if I was going to get sick and die, if I was going to take it to my family. I had no idea. Nonetheless, all of us, and me included, continue to show up to work. We continue to provide the same level of care that we always have, which was top-notch, world-class. And
You did that for the whole year before they brought these updates that aren't laws. Hold on, you're cutting out, and I don't. You're cutting out. 1 sec. I want you to be able to say it again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. So we worked COVID the whole time while everybody else was in the safety of their own home. Okay, so remember that. And we were told we were essential. And I remember at the time thinking, thank God I have a job that needs me, right? That it's recession proof. And that's one of the reasons, not the only, but one reason that many firefighters do that job is because it's recession proof. I was in construction trade. It's not. And that's just the honest truth. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is the main reason is because I enjoy helping people. That's why I would risk my own life for a man from Lebanon who I've never met, who needed our help.
We also have to be adrenaline junkies, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, a little bit, but that's for the structure fires and all the exciting stuff, which is really a small part of the job. 80 to 90% of our calls
in Beverly Hills
are medical. Yeah, especially in Beverly Hills. Exactly. Okay, so I want to go back now to August when the health mandate came out. So we have precautions in place. The LA County health mandate, all it said, get vaccinated, have one of the two carve out, and they put the ownership on the departments to decide what to do. And I've talked to many other small departments in LA County, from Santa Monica, West Covina, Burbank, all these other small departments. All of them accepted any and all religious exemptions that came across their desk. No questions asked, no interviews. They accepted them. They let the men and women go back to work. They made them test. Okay, it's another discussion. They made them wear their PPE, the masks and the gloves. No problem. We want to protect the community. I think that's safe to say. Okay. So they allowed all that. However, the city of Beverly Hills decided to make its own, and I call them draconian rules because it's completely unethical, unmoral, unconstitutional, everything under the sun. It's straight tyranny of what they were doing and forcing and coercing us into taking the shot that many of us didn't want. Okay. Many of us is against our personal religious beliefs, and my personal reason was because I prayed about it. I'm a Christian man. I prayed about it, and when you get an answer to your prayer, you obey it, or you're disobedient and you're breaking commandment at that point. And I felt so strongly about it, obviously, that I was willing, not willing, but I obviously was willing to lose my job with this or take it to the end because that's how strong I felt about it. However, in the beginning, we had multiple meetings with Chief Barton.
I have to say, I think most people, in other words, if you're truly a Christian or Jewish or any religion that goes against this, I would think that you would have to stick to that. You can't just give in just because the sake of your job, especially in a situation like this when there's been people advocating for people like yourself, all these attorneys that, that know these aren't, laws, that know the medical facts and that have been standing up with our firefighters, throughout California and the nation, and nurses and other people that, even, and school children, right? I mean, this is something that
it's unconstitutional. And in the state of California, our constitution is actually the strongest and the most protective because of, in reality, abortion, right? They're protecting your own body autonomy. And that's one of the reasons that it's so strong.
Your body, your choice. Where are all these people when it comes to this?
Your choice, right? And that's a whole nother discussion. However, it is our choice. And this is the United States of America, where no means no. I'm allowed to choose for myself what goes in my own body, what I put in my own body, and what I do with my own life. As long as it's in the kind, of real actual law that's been put through a real legal process, not a mandate over emergency use authorization when there's no emergency. We're having the Super Bowl and everything else.
And when there's no requirement for the police department, and
exactly.
That to me is
so.
We can get back.
LA City, yeah, LA City, they have requirements for their police officers, and for if you read the health mandate, it's really anybody who's in touch with patients, anybody who's in touch with patients, contact, or even those people that are like third-party vendors. So like at the hospital, if you come in and you do the towels, like Citas, that company, they're supposed to be vaccinated as well. So you would assume that the police officers, because they're in contact with, I would say, upwards of 20% of the patients that we have, from, suicidal, homeless, combative, whatever. We have a lot of patients where we're with PD on those all the time.
Yeah, but how about all the ones that you're not on? I mean, arresting people, you got to get close to people when you're arresting them.
Exactly.
You're not doing your job.
Exactly. And, I saw the interview with John Mirish. He says we're doing mouth-to-mouth on patients, which is ignorant and honestly just a stupid statement, because no first responder does mouth-to-mouth. We have equipment, professional equipment that we use. We use body substance isolation so that we don't contaminate the patient, or so that we don't get contaminated. So there would be a pocket shield at a bare minimum that we would use, but we use BVM. He doesn't know our equipment, and he doesn't know our policy, because we all wear masks and gloves on every call. So for him to say that is completely ignorant and uneducated, okay? And he doesn't know what he's talking about. Also, the healthcare mandate allowed for the individual fire department to make the rules on how they wanted to do it. So they did leave a little wiggle room, I guess, to be more stringent if that's what they want to do. But now they're really infringing on my own personal rights. They're coercing us now and putting us in a position by denying, first of all, my religious exemption, which is protected by Title VII. Then what they've done is on October 1st, when it went into effect, they put me off on unpaid leave. Unpaid leave.
So wait, you went on unpaid leave?
I went on unpaid leave.
I was told you were still
contact.
being paid. I was actually told that you were back at work.
No, I'm not back at work. I was terminated on March 9th. At the end, when they terminated me, they did make an agreement with the association that they would give me my back pay, which they did. However, they did it in a way that I was taxed over 60% of my back pay. And for a man, I'm married with 4 children. My wife doesn't work. I wasn't making any money for 6 months.
You said married, not unmarried.
I'm married. Yeah, married with 4 kids. Sorry. So I'm married with 4 kids. She stays at home with the kids, and this job was great because it provided for all of us. But I didn't work for 5 to 6 months unpaid. What do they think that does to?
And would unemployment pay you, or no, because you were fired or terminated?
No, I didn't get unemployment. I didn't get food stamps. Nothing. There was very generous people though that did donate, so that I could at least
and that's
put food
part
on
of our system, Josh, though, that needs changing too, because I've been put into that situation as well and can't get any help. And
I paid taxes my whole life. Okay, my whole working life, I've paid taxes, and all these things. And we had an unfortunate event last week. My daughter broke her arm playing soccer, and I don't have insurance right now. And I'm gonna have to figure out how to pay for this. Where I paid into Medi-Cal my whole life, and I'm not even gonna really be able to reap those benefits because we haven't qualified.
And you're over. And for Medi-Cal, you can't qualify. Why? Because
they look at my taxes from last year, and if you look at my taxes from last year, yeah, I made good money last year.
Right.
So that was last year. I got laid off. I got laid off October 1st, terminated March 9th. So I want to get into though what Chief Barton has done to the department, and I want to touch a little bit though on mental health and fire service, because that is very important. That doesn't get touched on a lot, but the suicide rate of cops and firefighters is high. It's not as high as the military, but it is staggering because of the fatigue, the burnout, the calls that we go on. There is a certain level of PTSD that we deal with. But the most stress I've ever felt on the job ever was during the month of September, when my job was hanging in the balance. And I just saw poor decision after poor decision from leadership there at the fire department. Chief Barton lied to membership. He told us that you had to be either Dutch reformist or Christian Scientist to receive a religious exemption.
What were those two? Dutch what?
Dutch reformist or a Christian Scientist to receive a religious exemption. He
And
said
why
those are
is
the only
that?
two. they have, from what I understand, they have some case law or some precedent set where they've actually stood up against that, but we know that's not true. And you can talk to a lot of other attorneys where that's just not the case. So it's very unfortunate. And then he was also being very coy.
Hold on, you're fuzzing out. Hold on one sec, you're fuzzing out. Okay, you're back.
So Chief Barton would, he never gave us clear instruction. He never gave us a clear pathway to submit religious exemptions. Neither did.
You're paused. Zoom. You'd think the technology would be a little better by now, which, by the way, I'm very shocked to have learned that our IT department only has had one Zoom since COVID, because the guy that's in charge wasn't comfortable doing Zoom, yet the entire school district and everybody else was put on Zoom right away. And if you don't know, your children are being monitored through their computers. We didn't hear anything you said. You've been frozen. Oh, I lost him. Let me get him back. Zoom. Okay. When the camera's a mirror. Let's see where Josh is. Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I shared some
So-
information about technology in our IT department, who has had one
Oh,
Zoom.
good.
Could you believe it? Our
Yeah.
head of IT in Beverly Hills has
Yeah.
had one Zoom and one meeting with the whole commission.
Yeah.
Since COVID started, he wasn't comfortable doing Zooms. The IT department, amazing.
That's embarrassing. Yeah, and that's a whole other topic. A lot of city employees put in a fraction of the hours of work while we all worked, at the fire department, and they were getting the same vacation accrual. They're getting the same sick time
Same
accrual.
pay, yep.
Yeah, and
Being
they're
told that they're working harder because they're at home and they're getting.
no, it's a lie.
I know.
They're in Costco doing a Zoom meeting, for whatever. Or they're drinking a Mai Tai on the beach, for an hour a day, and they're still getting the same pay, the same benefits. And then that person, Shelly Obram, who was doing that, I don't know if she was doing those particular things, but she was sitting in the comfort of her own home. And she was the one sitting in my meeting deciding if I can continue to work or not. And, and I didn't mention this before, but many
Oh, frozen.
were infected and already had COVID. So we have to, what was that?
You were frozen. You said, I didn't.
Oh,
hear-
sorry.
That's okay.
I was saying that what I wanted to mention was that many of us at the fire department actually were infected and had COVID already. So we had natural antibodies, and none of us showed up to sick work, or we tried not to. There was a time or two we had an exposure.
Like you
We
would normally, right? Before COVID.
Yes, exactly. So, and I would say, and I've argued that it's been more stringent during COVID. Like before, if guys were sick, sometimes they would come in to get some rest away from the family. I'm not gonna lie. But with COVID, no one did that. If you felt the slightest headache, it's, hey, I'm calling in sick. Cool, no problem. No one questioned it. No one cared. And there was a lot of the sick time that got paid for, by federal dollars. So the department didn't care either. There was no pressure to push people, back into work or anything like that. But Chief Barton has been a real dismal leader in many senses, but this one's the most because he gave zero clear direction. He never once went to bat for us. All he would say was, "Well, you want me to put my job on the line?" And my answer is yes, because if not, you're putting all of our jobs on the line. And who serves
And
the
your
community?
lives. And your lives.
In our lives. And who served the community? Is it Barton, or is it all the firefighters and boots on the ground? And he forgets that he serves really the fire department and the community instead of just his own career and the city council. So he's got to do what's best for the community. And that comes up to October 1st and the segregation and the discrimination that happened at the fire department. They took everybody who was unvaccinated, they put them on the truck 4, and he verbally ordered them not to respond to any EMS 911 calls where they would be encountering other patients. Okay, and there's a lot of hypocrisy in that too, and I can explain it. First of all, there's the PD. They go on all these things, and we don't know if they're vaccinated or not. Not to mention, a lot of times in our city, we get mutual aid from LA County. We didn't know if they were vaccinated or not. So they're potentially exposing them to all these people. And we have, 14, 20 guys at the fire department who are being ordered not to respond to calls. In the state of California, there's a duty to act clause, whereas paramedics and first responders and EMTs, if there is an emergency, and especially if you're on duty, you have to respond. You have to. So he's intruding on that. And he is giving us orders contrary to what we should be doing and against our morality, because a lot of us are there because we want to run calls. We want to help serve the community. So it's, for these guys to
You
have
don't
this
become a
stand down,
firefighter if you don't want to serve and protect.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just unbelievable that they would pass that policy. And I understand and I know that it came from George Chavez and Shelley Overham in a meeting that they had with Chief Barton. And Chief Barton essentially told them, well, we can just move them onto the truck and they won't respond to calls. So he gave them the solution. So that first day in October and his first several days in October, what happened?
You're frozen.
Medicine, they can't do advanced
So
life support.
you were frozen until you said October.
Okay, so yeah, this is a bad area. So in October 1st, Chief Barton removed paramedics from Engine 2 and Engine 3. And in our MOU and our city contract, we have a paramedic on every piece of apparatus at all times, except for 801. So everything else that you call 911.
801.
801 is just a BLS ambulance there at the station. It's cross-staffed by a captain and an engineer, and that one's not required to have a paramedic because paramedics will come from LA County. And that's only if
so your ambulance, the ambulance doesn't have to have a paramedic?
No. That's like it's the backup to the backup to the backup. It's the fourth. Okay. It's the fourth in line. So we have three frontline three frontline ambulances with
Engine
2 paramedics on them.
3.
Well, no, we have Rescue 1, Rescue 2, Rescue 3, 2 paramedics all the time. We also have a paramedic on the engine, on Engine 1, Engine 2, Engine 3, and we also recently put a paramedic on the truck. So every time you call 911, you're going to get multiple paramedics there, because we did that because sometimes the rescue will be sitting at the hospital. And so what gets there first? The engine. And we want to make sure that we have a paramedic on scene that can administer drugs. If you're having anaphylactic reaction, you're having a cardiac, chest pain or anything like that, that we can give those drugs that are required so that we can help do the best for the community. So Barton, his verbal policy derived by people that have no business sticking their nose in a firehouse, in my opinion, and telling us how to run emergency operations, he ordered them off of Engine 2 and Engine 3, put them on the truck, and ordered them not to respond. This happened, I believe, for the first 4 or 5 days in October. We were disgusted with this, and the association was disgusted with this because it's dangerous for the community. And that very first day, there was a full arrest, which is an unconscious cardiac arrest patient in 2's area, which is the north part of town. And there was one less paramedic on scene that day. And I am going to, in all honesty, I don't know how that call would have turned out if he was there or not. However,
the police answered that call.
I know the police were on scene, and the fact is we don't know if they were vaccinated or not. So they took the unvaccinated firefighter, put him at station 1 where he sat, was not allowed to respond to that call, and there was one less paramedic there, and the outcome possibly could have been different had he been there. And that's the honest truth. We don't know if it would have, what would have happened, but he should have been there and he wasn't because of Chief's bad
I
luck.
was told that we didn't lose a cardiac patient due to,
Well, of course they're
well,
going to say that.
actually, I was told we didn't lose a cardiac patient. I was told the whole story was, you know, a rumor, like, you know, that just keeps going around. That's not true.
The facts are there was a full arrest at 2's area. PD was on scene. I don't know who was there first. I'd have to pull. There's a public record. We can pull them.
What
The
date
thing
was
is,
it?
I believe it was October 1st or October 2nd. But there was one less paramedic on scene that should have been there. And he was sitting on the truck doing nothing because that was Chief's order. And then he came out and said that we have the same level of care that we've always had, which is a lie. And then he came
So
out
he
and
was
said,
punishing firefighters for not getting the vaccine. He was
Yes.
he was punishing the department and the community, essentially.
Exactly. That's what he was doing. And then again, they punished me October 1st when I don't know how they try to justify it, but they bypassed my due process. They bypassed the firefighter Bill of Rights, which is state law, clearly stating if you have a demotion, a loss of wages, any kind of penalty or anything like that, you have to go through a specific process, which they totally bypassed. They put me off. I have an email from Shatley over saying that I was relieved of duty, that I'm on unpaid leave until further notice. And in fact, in the same email, she tried to put me on a work schedule, 8 to 3 every day, where I had to be available for phone calls and other things, but still
But
unpaid.
not in the firehouse, but at home,
No,
8 to
at home.
3.
She put me on some kind of phantom work schedule where I'm unpaid and relieved of duty. So I don't even know what that was about. Then she tried to restrict all my First Amendment rights by putting me on a blanket gag order, which I know is completely illegal. So they did all these things, and they also
They really
discriminated.
love lawsuits in our city, huh?
I guess they do. And you don't have to look far. Anybody who's watching this, go back a couple years, look at the police department when we had Chief Spagnoli. There was, they paid out somewhere around $7 million in settlements and lawsuits because of really, really bad things that happened in the fire department. Every kind of
That's
discrimination.
because they happen in the fire department or the police department, you mean?
The police department, I'm sorry. And this was someone that the city council backed. They loved her. And they wanted her in that position. They actually hired the PR firm for R. Kelly and Harvey Weinstein to do damage control. And they never went the.
You're fuzzy.
And how about all those
Hold on.
people? Sorry, yeah, it's
That's
bad.
okay.
So anyways, yeah, you don't have to look far, but the city loves lawsuits. They love to discriminate. This is the same city council. Can you hear
Do
me?
you know that those cops, there were 17 officers that sued the city? Do you know that there's several who are still working for the city?
I do.
So the
Well, and
person,
that's the same.
the person that told me that you never lost, that you weren't fired, that you were still paid and that you were working, is the one that told me that she's the one that brought all of those cases. She's also the one that told me that, the relationship between the firemen and the police used to be good, but it's been awful for like a while now. And she was blaming it on that chief, who she's the one that's brought all these cases against with the police department, and really slandering her, because I don't really know the truth. I just know that the city settled. And when you're settling, you're not really sure of the facts, right? We don't really know. There was no trials. And
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fine. You can look. I mean, it's the news report on it. I mean, there's allegations there. I mean, I know some of these guys personally, so I've heard personal stories from their own mouths. I give them the compliment.
You're fuzzing
This
out.
is really more just about. Sorry, yeah, it's gonna break up. I only have a couple minutes left before I have to go to this meeting, but I just want to say that the city deserves better. They deserve better. They deserve someone who actually cares about the community instead of just having a smile on his face and saying nice things. The city council who does not care about their own employees, they only care.
you're muted, or you're not muted, but there you go.
Okay. I was going to say, I'm disgusted with city council members who had the audacity to stand with us on September 11th, and take pictures with the fire department on September 11th, at the end of the month, that we exemptions and this. They never had any clear intention on helping us. They never had any good faith negotiations. They were all bad faith negotiations. They lied to us, and they had different intentions, and they never were clear or straight with our association. And I'm going to defend my association in the sense that we have done everything for this city and this community. We have always come to the table with good attitudes. We serve the community with a smile on our face because that's what we do. And we've always had to try to have a good relationship with our city and our city council. And we helped get some of those people elected and into those seats. We put yard signs out. We would go knock on doors in an association. So it is complete betrayal in my mind. They've stabbed us in the back and they've severed those relationships, especially George.
Oh, I lost him. There he is. You're muted. It could just be where he's located. I really do appreciate him taking the time to meet with us today, because clearly there's lies, and maybe Vera really doesn't know the truth. Maybe this chief is even lying to her. But I would expect that she would do her due diligence to find out the truth. You're muted. You're still muted. Unmute. Unmute yourself. You hear the construction next door? All day, every day. All right, there's just a few minutes left anyway, 7:16 on this Zoom, but he's logged out and he's about to log back in. So it's really oh, he's messaged me. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just texting him. I just want to clear up some things, because he did mention something and I do now have questions about it. There was something in LA County with the police that there was mandates for. I think he said, we didn't mandate them for our police department. Another thing is that Vera told me that the firemen go on about 11,000 calls a year, and the police go on 33,000 calls a year. And if that's the case, and she said that the firemen do so much more than the police, which really doesn't make sense anyway, because at 11,000 for them and 33,000 for the police, I just want to clarify. And really, what's the difference? They both serve the people. They should both be kind and courteous. They should both be able to do their jobs, whether they subject themselves to these emergency use experimental shots. And because everybody knows that throughout the entire time, they were out there doing their jobs. And we really, as a city, deserve better than this for all of our people. And we deserve to know the truth. And when we're paying these people as much money as they're being paid all of them, everyone that works for the city. First of all, you shouldn't do a job unless you're going to do it well, because we can have other positions for you. And everybody is going to be held accountable for actions that have caused harm on other people. So I think moving forward, we should all just agree that we're going to start to be honest around here. And just know that people are going to find out the truth otherwise. So I have to run because I have somebody waiting for me. And I hope y'all are creating a great day. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.